When you think about the Legend of Zelda, what comes to mind first? Is it the endless hours spent adventuring across the different dimensions of Hyrule? Is it the magnificent dungeons that test your curiosity and abilities? Or is it perhaps our hero Link as he finally defeats evil and takes his place amongst the legends? Both the hero and the king of evil are profound symbols to us as players of these games, yet, hidden in plain sight, forever present, we must never forget that this legend belongs to the one named Zelda. Though being the titular character in the series, Zelda is often as thinly present as Ganondorf, a powerful piece saved for the final act to complete the plot and bring legend into life. In certain games, she does appear in other forms, yet it is not made clear what her true identity is until the moment demands it. This hidden identity theme is core to Zelda's character, because she in fact hides within her another spirit, passed down through generations of blood, that of the goddess Hylia. The degree to which this is hidden to even her varies. In some games it is made clear by her royal heritage that she is directly connected to the goddess, and in others she is so far detached from her lineage that she doesn't even know her name is Zelda. While the only true reincarnation of Hylia is the Zelda in Skyward Sword, throughout different versions of the legend, we get to see how Zelda experiences life both with and without the knowledge of her lineage, and from this, two things are clear. One, that she is more than capable of enjoying life as a normal Hylian, and two, that her connection to the goddess burdens her tremendously. Her life is marked as one struck between the heavens and earth, born as a human, raised or lost to royalty, and in the worst cases, demanded to be divine. One of my favorite myths across cultures are creation stories, the ways in which different people across time decided that the earth came to be. These myths are the perfect example of the power stories have over people, and in many cultures have bound millions of people together for thousands of years. The gravity of creation stories are the core of many of our most fascinating societies in human history, such as the Egyptians, Aztecs, and even Japanese, and had given them the ability to flourish into profound and vibrant civilizations, even if fated not to last. In The Legend of Zelda, the world of Hyrule too has a creation story that serves as the bedrock of the Hylian civilization, and guides the reality of all who dwell within the world, shaped by the golden goddesses. In the beginning, it is told that all was a void of chaos. Then from the heavens descended three goddesses, Din, Farore, and Nehru, to begin creation of what would become the world. Din cultivated the land and created the red earth. Nehru poured her wisdom onto the earth and gave the spirit of law to the world. And finally, Farore produced all life forms who would uphold those laws. With their work completed, the golden goddesses ascended to the heavens, and the mythical Triforce, an object capable of granting any wish, was hidden in the sacred realm, waiting for someone to find it and finish their creation, for good or evil. The Legend of Zelda is a decades-long story that has clearly been written one game at a time, often without any intention of connecting the plots together in any tangible way. After all, a legend isn't a style of storytelling that demands linearity or even continuity. Rather, it is a group of stories told about a specific place or peoples. Despite this, with the release of Skyward Sword, a real attempt to unify the games together in a cohesive timeline was presented, and now a dozen years later, it has had some interesting consequences on both our understanding of Hyrule, but also the main characters that move around it. As I've researched for this video, it is clear to me that no game plays a bigger role in understanding the legend than Skyward Sword, because it even still acts as the earliest point in the story that we can perceive, and the events of this plot continue to be referenced and expanded upon, even in the most modern games. While not every branch of the timeline is being expanded with passion, the writers are sure that the key points of Skyward Sword were what they wanted to be known as the true creation of Hyrule. While nearly all details of the previously mentioned creation myth hold true, one very vital detail is brought to life in Skyward Sword that has reshaped the entire Zelda universe: the existence of Hylia. Originally, Hylia was born as a deity to the golden goddesses, left on Hyrule when they returned to the heavens, and most importantly, tasked with protecting the Triforce. Strangely, when the Golden Goddesses created the Triforce, they limited its use to mortals, supposedly to inspire hope amongst the creatures of the world. Prior to Skyward Sword, Hylia was never spoken of as a living being. Rather, the name had been used to describe the Earth itself. Yet, since then, she has become a massive part of the modern legend, and both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom focus deeply on her role in the universe. In these games, much of the legend has stayed the same. However, no character has been altered more by Hylia's sudden existence than Zelda herself. While Skyward Sword became the obvious start of the Zelda timeline, it mirrors an obvious end of the timeline, thousands of years in the future, long after all other legends are told, in Breath of the Wild. Given that these three games are the most recent main series Zelda games, it is fair to assume that developing the character of Hylia has been a big focus of the writers for many years now, and as such, we see a very different Zelda than ever before, one who struggles with her circumstances and is flawed in her approaches, yet she resolves to try everything she can to get the results she needs. She is told that she is connected to the goddess Hylia and tasked with unlocking her holy powers to protect the realms immediately, and the overwhelming pressure to do so crushes her. While Ganondorf achieves his Triforce by destiny and Link by his actions, it seems that truly wisdom must be earned. Something common in the legend is the sad reality that Zelda is capable of failure. While it is not previously well explored, it is still something experienced by the players, and a key part of the plot. For example, in Ocarina of Time, had Zelda not sent Link on an adventure to gather the spiritual stones, and proceeded to hand him the Ocarina of Time, the Triforce would likely have never fallen into Ganondorf's hands. An example of a failure more out of her control, in Twilight Princess, she was fully unable to stop the forces of Twilight from taking over Hyrule, surrendering her kingdom in an attempt to save it. I don't bring these failures up to paint her as a bad character. Rather, if anything, they are part of what makes her more relatable and human. In Breath of the Wild, we see perhaps one of the most human versions of the character yet. Zelda is a young princess who has many interests and talents, but the closer Ganon gets to revival, the more pressure she must endure to control Hylia's powers. That, perhaps, is what is so sad about the Zelda we see in Breath of the Wild. She isn't permitted to explore her own self and what she finds exciting about Hyrule. Instead, she must connect with her birthright and become one with the sacred, while it rejects her best efforts over and over. It's not that Zelda is destined to fail like Ganondorf is. Rather, her curse is one of dependency. She can only succeed when others allow her to. In tarot, the card associated with Zelda is the Empress. After all, she is the Princess of Hyrule, and in many cases eventually goes on to be queen in her own right. The Empress is a beautiful woman with blonde hair and a peaceful aura about her. On her head she wears a crown of 12 stars, showing her connection with the mystical realm and the cycles of the natural world. Her robe is patterned with pomegranates, symbolic of fertility, and sits upon a luxurious array of cushions in flowing red velvet. One cushion features the symbol of Venus, the planet of love, creativity, fertility, beauty, and grace, the essence of the Empress. A beautiful, lush forest and winding streams surround the Empress, signifying her connection with Mother Earth and life itself. She draws her sense of peace from the trees and the water and is rejuvenated by the energy of nature. In the foreground, golden wheat springs from the soil, reflecting abundance from a recent harvest. To compare the two further, both the Empress and Zelda are connected royally to the mystical realm, yet are in tune with the natural cycles of the earth. Despite this relation to the divine, it is the simple and mundane life that she finds joy in. To her, a crown is simply something placed on her head, and the Triforce on her hand, yet her heart truly belongs to Hyrule and those who champion it. In a positive reading, the Empress represents femininity, beauty, nature, nurturing, and abundance, while in a negative position, it is creative block and dependence on others. While it's not specifically a bad thing to depend on others, the tragedy is that it comes at the expense of Zelda's own self-reliance, one she actively wants to develop, but is denied. In reality, she is strong and she is talented, and she is wise beyond her years. Yet, almost all the circumstances of her existence seem to shelter her from becoming herself, held in stasis as a weakening echo of a goddess long since gone. Part of what makes Zelda such a powerful character to us as players is that we actually do get to see her both at her best and her worst. The times Zelda seems happiest is when she is fully disconnected from Hylia, allowed to live on her own terms, by her own actions, thriving with her own abilities rather than her family, gods, or magics. In contrast, the times most suffocating to her are when she is locked in one place, forced to perform sacred duties, unable to become the person she wants to be by developing as she sees fit. This is why Zelda fails. While Ganondorf is cursed to have power and never keep it, and Link is cursed to adventure without ever looking back, Zelda is cursed to be only human, divided by the wisdom of both heaven and earth.